Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Mizikar, Town Manager of the Town of Shrewsbury. We're here today to provide an important update and information on the special town meeting, which will occur on April 14th, 2025 at 7 o'clock at the Oak Middle School Auditorium at 45 Oak Street. Article 1 on the warrant is a critical step in the town's ongoing effort to modernize our municipal facilities and maintain regular investments to preserve the town's assets. I'm joined by Keith Baldinger, Assistant Town Manager for Operations, and David Snowden, Assistant Town Manager for Administration and Finance. Together, we'll walk through this article, explain what's being proposed, and answer common questions that you may have as a member of the community and a town meeting member. Welcome, Keith. Would you take the opportunity just to read the article that will be proposed through the warrant?
Sure. So Article 1 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, and/or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the Municipal Facilities Optimization Committee to construct, repair, equip, renovate, expand, and/or replace the town-owned buildings located at 205 211 South Street and 100 Maple Ave, including but not limited to land acquisition, architectural services, engineering, site work, hazardous materials abatement, demolition, and all other related costs, or take any other action in relation thereto.
So that's a lot for a single article. It's our standard warrant article. Really, this is a capital improvement project that we're looking to make repairs and improvements and take on costs associated with the design thereof for two main projects, which occur at the South Street Garage and here at the Town Hall. But Keith, let's take a step back before we get too far into the details. Let's start with the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Why is the project necessary?
So the project's a result of careful planning and evaluation. In 2024, the Select Board had the forethought to create a Municipal Facilities Optimization Committee to look at our DPW property and Town Hall and see if there was a way that we could optimize both locations. So early in our work, it became clear that DPW garage and the water and sewer garage buildings were significantly outdated. Right? They're undersized and no longer fit for safe, efficient operations. These buildings house all the vehicles and equipment and materials that DPW uses to keep our town running every day. But they do lack some of the modern safety features, accessibility, and space needed to support a 24/7 operation. At the same time, Town Hall, which hasn't seen major improvements since 1997, faces mounting challenges, particularly with ADA accessibility. The restrooms in this building are from the 60s, and it needs upgraded fire suppression systems and HVAC because that's about 27 years old. So Article 1 is about addressing these known deficiencies in a strategic and coordinated way to better serve the public, support our workforce, and ensure long-term value.
So Keith, this wasn't the first time we've looked at the Town Hall recently, so it's not really our first approach at this. This project really combines Town Hall needs. The Town Hall needs in this project are really an outcome of being able to identify a unique opportunity at South Street that relieves some of the space constraints. But this isn't the first time that we've looked at the Town Hall. That was first done in 2019 and 2020 as we considered the municipal campus project.
That's right.
Along with the police station. So let's get into some of those details of this overall project. What exactly is being proposed through this single article on the warrant?
So the simple story there is, there's demolition of the existing water and sewer garage, which is well beyond its useful life, and then renovation expansion of what the existing DPW garage is that's there, because that building is about 50 years old. It's in actually excellent condition. There was some forethought when that building was built in the 70s. But we'll take that building and renovate it and then put an addition on it to house the water and sewer department operations, and then there'll be a second floor as part of that addition where the DPW administrative staff that currently resides in Town Hall will move to. It's about 30 staff members that we have here that would move to that location.
So down there at South Street, if folks aren't familiar, if you're standing at the front gate of the facility, there's three different garage-like buildings
Yep.
one could perceive.
Mm-hmm.
The one to the farthest right is the salt shed, which will remain. The one to the farthest left is the water and sewer operations garage, and that is going to be completely removed.
Correct.
And then what happens with that center garage?
So the center garage, what you see now, that houses highway, parks, and fleet, that will stay in that configuration. And then to the left of that building, they'll add on to the left side of that building. So it's a total, the footprint's about 23,000 square feet, and then has a 7,000 square foot second floor on it.
Okay, so the second floor will not encompass the whole building, but just a portion of it to house
That's correct.
a similar sized space to what's here in the town hall,
Yeah,
roughly?
yeah, it'll be about a third of the footprint on the second floor of that building. Yep.
Okay. So you did mention some renovations at the town hall, and I cut you off before you had the opportunity to get there. Let's talk about those details of the project.
Sure. So going through town hall, so there's accessibility issues, right? What does that mean? So we need to make the building ADA compliant, bring it up to current day accessibility laws and regulations. These accessibility improvements include upgrading all 6 public bathrooms, like I mentioned, were from the 60s, upgrading the building walkways and entrances and signage, and improving our meeting spaces to allow for better visual and hearing accessibility. That's something that we hear from our residents often when they're in this building for public meetings, so we need to improve that. Then fire suppression, what is that, right? So fire suppression systems is the fire sprinkler system. So this building only has it in the rear, 1997, just doesn't have it in the front. And then upgrading the fire alarm system, which is from 1997. It's to the point now it's at end of life. We can't get a lot of parts for it, or they're difficult to get. And then, so that's essentially life safety, but life safety also does include HVAC upgrades, because the quality of air in the building is important. So this includes replacing the entire HVAC system in the older part of the building, which is the front, with an electric heat pump system, which will be much more efficient in both heating and cooling seasons. That system is 27 years old, and if you've ever walked to this building, you can walk from one office to another, and they're completely different temperatures. It's not very efficient what we have here. And then on the rear of the building in 1997, that system was upgraded in 2017. It has a gas-fired rooftop unit on it, and we'll be replacing that with an electrified unit. So the entire building will be electrified. And then space efficiency. So we will be reorganizing some of the office areas to improve the efficiency of operations within the building. Simply put, we are relocating some departments within the building to help improve internal operations and external resident experience. Maybe grouping certain departments together that work together often, that sort of thing. And then one of the most significant aspects of the space efficiency will enable the school department's central administration team to all work from town hall. Currently, they work from this building. They have about 10 or 12 staff at Parker Road. I think they have a staff member that has an office at Beale. So we'll be able to put all of them together in one location, which will help their operation.
One of the things that also happened over the past few years is the reduction of conference room space at the town hall. That some of those spaces have actually been turned into not individual, but office spaces, group office spaces, because we had the need to, service residents from this building, and we had to kind of cannibalize some of that space. So what is the opportunity that exists with regards to conference space and either restoring or moving those folks?
Well, I think, as we move staff out of this building, can really look internally at how the layout works. There are a lot of staff in this building that don't have access to natural light, so we can maybe move some conference spaces into those areas and then move their offices to outer areas. So I think there's a host of opportunities that could certainly we could afford to, or we need.
Great.
That would help us.
Keith, I think one final area before we start to get into some of the cost questions and how we're going to finance this project. these are two seemingly separate buildings, separate projects. Why have they been combined into a single project? What is the purpose of that?
So it makes sense both operationally and financially, right? So we can co-locate all of our DPW leadership and staff in under one roof, and it frees up space at Town Hall for other things, like we talked about the school department. But from a project management standpoint, there'll be a cost savings. We'll have one architect, we'll have one owner's project manager, and one construction manager, which it keeps it all moving along nice and smooth, right? If we had a project going on at Town Hall and a project going on at South Street by two different contractors, like there would definitely be a issue meshing, making sure that we're moving people efficiently and not costing us extra. So that's the biggest piece right there. Is overall project-wise, it's one project instead of two projects on separate paths.
The real optimization of that is linking the DPW staff move down to South Street, which means we don't have to add on to the Town Hall. Because
right. Yep.
I'll go back to that 2020 project. That had a significant expansion. There's no expansion planned here at the Town Hall,
right,
because we're able to provide that relief valve by creating office space down at the South Street facility. And if my recollection is right in looking at the financial details, that office space down there is no more than $3 million, which is a significant investment.
Right.
But I think it's less than a third of the cost that it would have taken to provide a similar expansion here at the Town Hall, or the original expansion that we looked at here for the Town Hall.
And that's in 2020 dollars too. Sure. So it's even much larger. That's grown since then too.
Right.
For sure.
Thank you. So before we get too deep into any single aspect of the overall project, I'd like to shift and take a step back and think about the whole project again and talk with David Snowden about project costs and what the financial plan is for all this. So, Dave, what's the total cost of this project as we know it right now?
Yeah. At this point in time, the total cost of the project is $42.4 million, which includes all aspects: construction, design, permitting, contingencies, and project management. It's also important to identify that this $42.4 million also includes $2 million that was previously appropriated by town meeting at the fall 2024 town meeting for the initial design and development of this project.
So looking at those two numbers, we've already invested $2 million into the project. So if we're going to move forward, the ask would be about $40.4 million.
Correct.
Okay.
And that breaks out a little bit more if you'd like me to go through that.
Yeah, let's talk
That'd
about
be great.
that.
So how do we want to fund this? There will be a borrowing component. The town plans to borrow $38.2 million and repay it over 20 years through a mix of sources. $16.2 million would be funded through water and sewer utility rates as per their long-term financial plan. $22 million would be proposed through a debt exclusion, which would be voted on at the town election in May 6, 2025. We would also be using a little over $2 million in free cash and applying the proceeds from the Centec Boulevard easement sale, $225,000 to this project as well. We've ultimately structured this funding strategy to minimize the tax impact while still investing in the clearly essential infrastructure needs Mr. Baldinger identified earlier.
All right, so not burying the lead for town meeting members, right? Town meeting's role is to authorize any borrowing.
Right.
And so that's what we have before town meeting. Does town meeting approve of borrowing to complete the scope of work for this project? So let's get into some details about the impacts of that borrowing. So you identified a few different sources. They really fall into two main categories: $22 million that will fall through a debt exclusion, which will go through the general tax levy, and then a little over $16 million that will be funded through utility rate revenues. So speaking of the larger component, the $22 million component, what does that mean for the average taxpayer?
Yep. That's a great way
Average
to
single family home is probably the best way to put it.
And it's a helpful way to understand the impact. So if approved, the debt exclusion would result in an estimated $51 annually increased for the average single family home based on a home value of $706,000. So Homes in that range would see about $51 increase in their annual tax bill associated to this project.
And that's a net increase because can you talk a little bit about how we structure our debt and what that means when you're talking about the $51?
Yeah. The town approaches debt funding for large projects like this through a declining debt service or equal principal model, wherein over time the debt payments on the tax bill decrease, and we're allowed to layer in new projects to help minimize the impact. So the net average increase would be $51, and then it would decline year after year after for this project. And again, this is net based off of the debt that's currently rolling off of the tax roll at this point in time for the community.
Yes. So what would happen if the project wasn't take on? The debt service component of a tax bill would go down about $126.
Correct.
So what we're doing is we're filling up that gap of the first $126 and then going a little above that $51. So when someone compares it to their current tax bill year over year, they would see that $51 increase. And that is really the benefit of that declining debt service. Think of it as a slide, and we're just trying to, with this project, we're just keeping it slightly above level year over year. And it's truly a benefit of the way we structure our debt because you can see the saving, or not the savings, but you can see the cost benefit right there. It's about $122 less of an impact than it would be if we managed our debt in a different way.
Correct. And this helps the taxpayer in the long run because they don't see spikes every couple of years, up and down, which is more difficult and volatile to financially plan for.
Right. And actually, we spend less overall because we pay less in interest.
Correct.
All along.
It does benefit the town.
So, all right. So that's the first main component. Let's talk about the second component. $16.2 million. It would be paid through utility revenues. What will utility bills look like, generally speaking, as a result of that?
Yep. So the water and sewer utilities have been reviewing their rates based off a 5-year financial plan with the intent of never increasing the rates more than 5% over a previous fiscal year. This project has been something that's been on the radar for the water and sewer utility, and we've looked at different funding models when we initially set this. Water and sewer will see an increase of about 5%, which would be an estimated $20 annual increase in the water and sewer bills for the average resident household.
So that's
15,000 gallons a quarter, I believe. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, so 5% year over year is the total cost, and that includes new revenue for operations as well.
Correct.
So the $20 increase is just a portion of those costs. So because it's their overall operating budget.
That is correct.
So that's great. So if it exists, the average single family valued home, and you use an average amount of water and sewer consumption, you're going to see about a $71 year over year increase in fiscal year 26 as compared to you see in fiscal year 25 or when the debt rolls on.
That is correct. That's a helpful way to look at it, a total dollar amount. And we understand that the impact is real, but we're trying to find the best way to manage that while also bringing this long-term benefit of a 20-year project repayment timeline for the town.
Great. So another financial component to this, but sits closer on the construction side, is a term that you mentioned before that I'd like to revisit, Keith, which is construction manager at risk.
Sure.
So what does that mean?
Sure. So construction manager at risk in state of Massachusetts MDL is called Chapter 149A, CM at risk. So which means at this point in the process, we've already brought on our construction manager, which is Fontaine Brothers. And they work closely with the design team and the design team's estimators to truly make sure that the design cost is real. I mean, there's no other way to do that, say it any more simpler than that. Mm-hmm. Like, they are the people that are going to build it, and then they commit to a guaranteed maximum price for this project, which is the $40.4 million, right? So what we will do is we will ultimately enter in a contract if this passes town meeting and the special election vote to we'll have a contract with them, and that'll be the maximum amount of money that this project will cost us, as opposed to what another project process is called general bid. So we would currently not have a construction manager on board. We would just have a designer. We would go with their estimates, and then we would put it out on the street for bids, and then multiple contractors would bid on it. And we don't know what that number is going to be. It could come in over budget, it could come in under budget. So at this point, we have a much better, solid financial number in front of us to go with the project, which is the reason. And we've used construction manager at risk on multiple projects in this community, and it's always worked out very well.
So what I'm kind of hearing is the at-risk part of this really means that once that final price is set, which right now we know to be about $40.4 million, we sign that contract. That is the maximum price the town will ever pay.
Yes.
And the at-risk part falls to the construction manager or
Correct.
sort of the general contractor to manage the price. And if it goes over, then the risk is on them,
That's correct.
not on the town. Versus what you just said on the design bid build, where a change order on day one would mean a higher cost increase likely for the project. So I would kind of like to go back to those different components of the physical work that needs to be done and then tie in the overall cost of the project. So again, we're looking at a $42.4 million project. We've already invested $2 million in the 60% design, so we have about $40.4 million to go. Let's just look at the town hall first. Sure. What is the cost of the town hall? What's the town hall component of this project?
Sure. The town hall portion of it is $4.4 million worth of work. It's about 9.5% of the total project value. And over 60% of that $4.4 million is the life safety and the ADA, HVAC work, right? So actually the space optimization, reorganization of offices, that sort of is really the smallest part of that part of the process. And these are, and we're not doing anything in this building that we don't need to do. There are no wants in this piece. It's all need items that will come across our desk at some point in the very near future that we would have to come up with a way to fund.
So the town hall component's less than 10% of the overall cost of the project, and the investments that are being made in the town hall are life safety components or replacing systems that are 27, 28 years old that any day really is subject to, massive break fix failure that we'll have to invest in anyhow. And I think that's also part of this optimization and bringing it under a single architect and a single construction manager, because on a major commercial building like this, when you replace those systems, it takes an engineer and an architect to design it and get the building permits and things like that. So I think that further optimizes the approach and not doing a piecemeal project. So I appreciate those details as it relates to the town hall. So basically, $36 million of this total investment is going into a DPW facility that really benefits the quality of life of each and every resident, probably on a day-to-day, well, not probably, on a day-to-day basis. It's water, it's getting rid of wastewater, flushing the toilets, it's snow plows, it's pothole fixing, and a lot of other really core local government functions that happen through the Department of Public Works.
And if I might, I'll steal our DPW director's line. DPW is certainly is an area that touches every resident, every visitor, and every business in this community. There is no one that can say it doesn't, because of all of the things that they do completely across the board to support our community.
Great. Well said. So Dave, let's go back to you. What can residents expect, and what do town meeting members need to pay attention to over the next few weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's important to identify 3 key dates coming up. There is a Finance Committee public hearing on April 10th at Town Hall in the Select Board's room. Following that, town meeting will be able to vote on Article 1 at this special town meeting on April 14th at the Oak Middle School. And then lastly, the debt exclusion will be voted on during the town election on May 6th, 2025.
So how can people get more information on the project?
Sure. So we have 4 public outreach sessions coming up also. April 2nd, April 9th, and April 23rd. All of those are in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30, and they will be at the DPW garage on South Street. And that'll be a walk-in. Those will all be walk-in sessions. So there's no formal presentation. There'll be stations set up. You can learn about DPW and you can learn about the project. And then we're doing one daytime one on April 24th from 1 to 3 right here at the Senior Center. And it's the same fashion, walk in. And then we also have, we've fully updated our MFOC webpage that has all the relevant information, stuff that we talked about today and more. And then we'll keep updating that as we need to. And then we also, also to mention, all of these meetings are also televised, and you can watch them at any time on SMC once they've been through. So will be a lot of information put out to the community the next month.
Great. So there's formal public hearings and meetings that will occur over the next few weeks, and then also some more informal but important public information sessions that residents can engage with staff and really ask their questions in a kind of comfortable environment, one-on-one, to see what the needs are and how they plan to be addressed for this project. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you, Keith and Dave, for helping inform residents about the upcoming special town meeting that will occur on April 14th, which will have one article for the Municipal Facilities Optimization Project, which makes important investments in Shrewsbury's future on those frontline DPW workers and staff and where they operate from and how we store millions of dollars worth of equipment. As Mr. Baldingham mentioned, you can visit the project webpage at shrewsbury.gov/MFOC. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this. We hope to see you on April 14th at the special town meeting. Take care.